I've been blessed to have many wonderful teachers who inspired me academically and personally. But my fifth-grade teacher, Mrs. Campbell, still stands out years later as my absolute favorite. Her passion for learning, creativity, compassion for students, and the special bond we formed made a lasting impact. She cultivated confidence in me at a vulnerable age and nurtured my voice. Great teachers plant seeds that blossom across students' lives. I'll always be grateful for her. Mrs. Campbell welcomed each student with a warm smile and enthusiasm that made you feel special. She learned our interests to connect lessons to our lives. If you had a talent like drawing or music, she wove that into class activities. Mrs. Campbell fostered an encouraging community where we supported each other's gifts. Her classroom felt like an extended family. She made learning engaging, never lecturing to bored faces. We created models, performed skits, and competed in academic games frequently. Mrs. Campbell taught us Native American history by having us build miniature longhouses from cardboard. Diagramming sentences somehow seemed fun the way she did it. Her creativity made every subject fascinating to curious young minds. Mrs. Campbell also shared her personal stories, interests, and struggles so students saw her fully as a person. We felt less alone navigating the turbulent early teen years, knowing she had experienced similar growing pains and self-doubt. She normalized the trials of coming of age with light-hearted humor that put us at ease. Opening up made her relatable. Beyond academics, Mrs. Campbell nurtured our emotional intelligence. Class discussions tackled thorny topics like bullying and peer pressure that weighed on our young consciences. She facilitated reflective writing assignments where we expressed anxieties in a safe space. When tensions arose between classmates, her patience and conflict resolution guidance taught me invaluable skills. Mrs. Campbell helped me recognize my own strengths. She singled me out for praise when I helped struggling classmates with math problems. "You explained that concept so clearly. Have you considered teaching?" Instances like that gave me confidence to lead. When she noticed I finished assignments quickly, Mrs. Campbell let me work ahead independently on enriching projects while others caught up. I thrived thanks to that autonomy. She also provided extra support for my weaknesses. I struggled badly with timed math tests and would freeze up, overwhelmed. Mrs. Campbell allowed me to take them untimed in her office to alleviate anxiety. She guided me through word problems step by step during recess until solving them became second nature. Her belief that I could improve not only my grades but also my self-esteem empowered me to persevere through challenges. Outside class, Mrs. Campbell's door was always open if we needed to talk privately or simply escape teasing. She shared snacks, cracked jokes, and offered a safe haven for struggling souls. Many days I pretended to organize her bookshelves as I confided whatever middle school drama troubled me. Mrs. Campbell listened intently to each trivial issue. Her patience taught me I mattered. While demanding excellence, Mrs. Campbell accepted our humanity. When I broke down crying about a bad grade, instead of scolding, she gently replied, "This test doesn't define you. Tomorrow is a new day." Her reassurance bred resilience. When a normally behaved student lashed out, I watched Mrs. Campbell diffuse the situation with compassion. She reacted calmly in the toughest situations. Among many valuable lessons, Mrs. Campbell taught us the power of using our voice through writing. We wrote poems about our dreams and fears, which she bound into a class book. Mrs. Campbell submitted my short stories to contests where I got to read on stage when I won. She made us believe our words could impact others. I blossomed as a writer due to her encouragement. Mrs. Campbell inspired me to pursue teaching myself one day with her passion for nurturing young minds. When I was shy to speak up in class, her warmth coaxed me out of my shell. She built character and skill sets in each student. Mrs. Campbell saw our full potential even when we doubted ourselves. Her high standards motivated us to exceed even our own expectations to make her proud. Outside academics, Mrs. Campbell showed interest in our lives. She attended our soccer games, band concerts, and art shows. Seeing her smiling face cheering us on in the crowd made us feel like celebrities. For students lacking support at home, Mrs. Campbell provided the unconditional love every child deserves. Her care for students extended beyond just teaching content required for standardized tests. Of course, we gave Mrs. Campbell endless headaches with our preteen antics. Every Monday, she would ask what we did over the weekend. One mischievous boy bragged about watching R-rated movies at a sleepover, trying to shock her. But she just smiled and redirected the conversation to avoid giving his behavior power, a savvy move. Her grace under the pressure of managing 30 spirited kids amazed me. Looking back, I appreciate the invaluable life skills Mrs. Campbell instilled subtly, from conflict resolution to emotional intelligence. She cultivated creativity, teamwork, and perseverance through learning games. Mrs. Campbell prepared us not just for middle school academics, but to navigate life's challenges with compassion. A great teacher plants seeds for growth beyond their subject matter. I'll never forget the inspiration I felt when Mrs. Campbell displayed our mediocre attempts at poetry alongside classics by published authors. "This is just the beginning," she beamed. "Keep filling your journals, practicing, and sharing your voices with the world." Nurturing our aspirations mattered to her as much as concrete lessons. Mrs. Campbell saw long-term potential rather than just immediate grades. Of course, saying goodbye at the school year's end brought tears. I still have the thoughtful card she gave me urging me to keep pursuing writing and helping others. As an insecure preteen, I felt so validated by my teacher's belief in me. That self-confidence she instilled allowed me to eventually spread my own wings. Mrs. Campbell's lasting encouragement bolstered me through obstacles ahead. Teachers like Mrs. Campbell change lives. Her passion and care for students extended beyond obligation. She cultivated community and made us feel seen. Mrs. Campbell awakened my voice and purpose that guide me to this day. Though decades have passed, I recall her mantra when facing challenges: "You've got this." Great teachers empower us to believe in ourselves. I became who I am today in many ways thanks to Mrs. Campbell's influence.